Well,
for doing for film production.
happy Labor Day weekend, and we are at the Earth and Garden. We're looking at the transitional month. Hi, Helene.
Hi, Jennifer.
We're going to look at what happened this year with the deer, which has not happened to us before. They gobbled a lot of stuff, and we're ready to be brave and see if they will hopefully not get in to eat our winter greens, but we're about to start doing some of that. I'm going to start here with Mark. And hi.
Hi.
How are you?
All right, we're
You're showing some devastated peanuts. They ate the peanuts. Helene, 4 times do you think we got eaten? Different occasions over the summer?
I don't know what kind of yield we're going to get.
I think we're going to get nothing, but that's why we're taking them up, because it's not worth waiting to see, and it's time to put the fall vegetables in. Mark, what are we putting in here? We're putting collards in this bed, aren't we? Yep. Yep. I think it's like 8 of them. So we're going to do 4 down each side.
Go ahead
And wait, let's talk about the garden for a minute. This is sort of square foot gardening because this is an 8 by 4. And we're going to make 2 rows of 4. And the collards are going to go in. And tell us what you're doing now with the peanuts.
I'm going to pull the peanuts out.
Good luck with that.
I'm going to go ahead and
see if we got any real ones. Do you want a shovel?
I have one.
It's dry. One of the things we're going to notice in the garden today, it has been really dry for the last week. We've had some really erratic weather. 9 inches of rain, then nothing, heat. No peanuts.
They were started.
Yeah, well, we just didn't have enough green on top to feed them, and we didn't get any pegging, and so we're just...
I'm going to weed while I go.
All right, and then you're going to place 2 rows of 4, Mark?
Yeah.
Terrific. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's come over here and talk about this for a minute, because we did have some things that were in our cucurbit family that were successful. The deer did not, they ate the beans. They ate the beans all along the fence, but they did not eat the cucumbers, and we were very pleased with the Armenian cucumber and saved one for seed, and it's worth looking at how you do that. We're going to take this out and harvest it away today. You have to let a cucumber rot. And if the cucumber doesn't, rot, really turn to mush and yuck, then the seed isn't going to be viable. And what we noticed with the Armenian cucumbers, there are not very many seeds. So we're going to be careful to take it off of here. You can see it's quite a large fruit. They get easily to 24 inches when they're in the middle of the growing season. And they made great pickles. We sliced them and we did lacto fermentation, and they were wonderful as sour garlic pickles. So we're going to want to try them again, and we know that they're an heirloom variety, and they did pretty well in terms of disease resistancy. They just didn't have any bugs, and they didn't have any mildew, and we get a lot of water. When we have big deluges, we have drainage that comes this way, and they can sit in water, and it didn't seem to affect their foliage either. So here's a fun thing, and this is a squash that's new to us. It is called cucuzzi. It's an Italian squash, and we let it grow, and it worked its way over to the beans, and it's grown over the fence as these, let that vehicle go by, as these very long winter squash, and they're a little bit greener. I think this one is probably close to harvest. These are the squash that you can save through the winter, and that's why they're called winter squash. Pumpkins are in that family, butternut is in that family, acorn squash. These are the squash that store very well through the winter, so when you're in an off-season and can't be growing food for the vitamin components that you get out of squash, you can go ahead and save these and use them through the winter. Looks like we have some more coming in here. And I read about the squash as one that spirals, and it seems like this one's doing a little bit more of that. So we'll see how the next 30 days go. We've got another good month or so of growth for these. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Can you show us this?
We're deadheading coneflowers here so that we can get all the good seeds that are
All right.
in here that'll be ready to plant next spring.
So we're harvesting seeds, and we're going to be using them for wildflower mixes, I think, and we're going to put them together for the folks that are in the classrooms here. I think this year we handed all of the kids some wildflowers and a few other kinds of seeds, and we're going to be repeating that. So that's great. I think I read, and we're going to have to check, we seeded some Rudbeckia, and they didn't come in this year. We had cut the seeds flat from last year and we put them in the ground and they didn't grow. And I did read that they need to be out in the cold. They need to have a chill. And I think that these may be in the same family, so we might want to keep these in the garage this winter so that they get nice and cold.
Great.
And then they're ready to,
That's great.
well, and I think that may have been what happened with the Black-Eyed Susans. So, do you want to go and talk about this over here? It looks like we've got,
The black-eyed Susans here.
yes,
We're hitting those
Zinnias
that have already gotten
and
dark enough.
big bumblebees
to dead
I think
will
there's
get-
some zinnias area that are ready.
are ready too. Here, this one right here looked like it might be.
Oh,
they're
yeah,
close.
There's a good one to take off. Or the
And this is just a random mix that continues to proliferate for us. Yeah, and these were great through the whole year. They just flowered and flowered. And we are not seeing the hummingbirds right now, which means that maybe they've taken their journey south. I think that that's what they're supposed to do. We're at Labor Day.
The first group of them that started south, and the ones further north will be coming.
Oh,
good.
good. So we'll see new ones come. Well, I'm glad somebody knows.
So-
Great.
That's why they say to leave the feeders out till at least October 15th.
Okay.
now.
Interesting. So our hometown hummingbirds have gone, and our
Remember,
northern friends are coming.
Remember, you don't color the water. Don't dye it.
Okay.
The color of the actual feeder will draw them.
Okay.
They
So
even
no-
come to places that don't have color.
Yes. They are seeking nectar, correct? All right. So, hi, Barb. Hi, Jack. So let's talk about here. What are we planting? We have well, let's talk first about what happened with the deer. We can't avoid that. Behind Jack was a wall of green that is now a wall of vines. We had all of our beans get gobbled up. We were able to harvest seeds from, the actual dried bean from the lima beans, but these pole beans, we started getting a harvest and then kapooey. So they also came in and they ate the tomatoes. And our decision right now is to leave the tomatoes that are in cages because they're rebounding, they're flowering. We do have at least 6 more weeks here in this climate of tomato production. And if it's a mild fall, we can, so long as the light doesn't become too few, we can get tomatoes right up until Thanksgiving easily. I know that people talk about getting them at Christmas time if we have a mild fall. So we're going to harvest the basil. We have other basil here in the garden that we're saving for seed, and we're going to make room for the fall cruciferous plants, and they are a Chinese cabbage, and this is Brussels or broccoli, and we had some things volunteer, right?
This is I think it's a turnip.
All right, so Jack and I are calling it a turnip, but we have been wrong before. We realized that with some of the other things we didn't know what we were talking about, but that looks like turnip to me too. So we're saying that has volunteered as a turnip. So this was peppers, and you can see that the deer just devoured them. I mean, every single pepper plant, and the first time they got hit, we put in more peppers, and then they ate those peppers. And so now we're going with Brussels sprouts and cauliflower in this bed.
Cauliflower
And Brussels sprouts. So we're going to be putting 2 rows of 4 in each one of the beds here. We may make a section that's cubed. I think that's what we'll probably do with the different varieties. Mark's going to do a couple rows of 4 over there. And then we have more volunteers here, and you can see that this is deer damage. They came in and they just chomped off the tomatoes. And they don't taste good. I don't know what they're doing. And we tried whirligigs, and Helene was spraying deer repellent on the grass around the plants, and we'll look at some of the tenting that she did to try and keep them out. I think the answer is going to be another row on the fencing that's going to have to come up another couple feet. We'll probably get some chicken wire and make it a little bit higher. But in this space, what has volunteered here, Jack? We can be sure of it. Yes, and we can taste it to make sure we know what we're talking about. And they really have. They've come back in this curly mustard, which I really like. It's a very tasty, nice foliage. It looks good and it eats well. And we have quite a few of them. And so we're going to mix with them. Our vendor was kind enough to give us some rainbow chard. He felt like they were beyond their prime, and he said take them home with you and bring them to the kids' garden. So we have 3 rainbow chard that we'll put in here with our mustard. And then we're going to need to do some root vegetables. So once we take out the cruciferous, or the cucurbits, those are the squash down there, and we also have some tomatoes here that we'll finish up later in the year. And those are the places that we'll be adding some root crops. Helene, we'll pause for a minute over here. We'll talk about what Barb had done. She brought us indigenous plants, and we have mountain mist. Is that what it was? Mountain mint?
This is, right here is a mountain mint.
Yep.
And that will have white flowers in the spring, and it's a great pollinator plant. This is a sunflower.
Oh, it's a swamp sunflower. Is that one?
Yes.
Okay.
And it should get about 6 feet tall, but it will need another year's growth. It'll die down and come back, and have beautiful, about 2-inch diameter yellow flowers.
Terrific. So it'll be a nice wall over here on the corner.
Wherever they.
Yeah, we put a few of them in, and it was a tough time of year, but, Helene was so diligent about watering, and until the deer were trampling things, we were doing pretty well.
Doing pretty well. Down here we have some small milkweed. These are just above seedling stage. They just got a late start again. And they will probably they should live through the winter, and they'll get about that high and have
Little
those
bush.
nice yellow and orange flowers. For the milkweed, for the monarch.
For the monarchs, oh my gosh, Barb, look at your front and back, isn't that darling? Oh, look,
There's the caterpillar, and there's
the chrysalis. What a cool shirt. So Barb is a real-life demonstration of monarch propagation.
This section is really as everything in here is for pollinators.
Yes, yeah.
And this section.
And one of the things we look at here, and if people are trying to do this in their home gardens, is that it really takes a couple of seasons of establishment. You're going to get, these are the swamp sunflowers again coming towards the fence, and there is milkweed, and there is some of the mountain mint, but it's going to take a season or two for any perennial garden to mature, and that gives you room to add more when you find it too.
And some of these, all of these really will spread.
Yes.
I planted one Maximilian sunflower, and by the 3rd year, I had about 8-10 feet long area of sunflowers from that one flower.
And we want that wall of pollination, and we want that wall to prevent the vegetable predators like the deer from coming back. And you can see that we have one pole bean that is making an attempt at growing on these pitifully eaten vines. This is another one that, there have been a couple of them, but at the shop I've got a section and I'm pulling off half a pound a day. This is a shame because, again, Barb planted these in the spring and they were thriving and the deer came. And we have no control over some of that stuff. So we're going to come around and look at...
They actually did not attack the sunflowers until later. They were not there.
And I think that mostly where we saw the damage was where they trampled them, where they came in and we saw hoof prints and they had stepped on things.
Yeah, I
They're
think
just
they ate this one, but I don't think they liked it because this
they
one's over here
is
still
fine.
here.
Yep.
So it is kind of resistant to deer.
Well, and most of the natives would have to be prolific, right?
Yeah.
So we also have some ornamentals that we did here for the shade, and that was the lilies, the ginger lilies, and we also had some more of the mint, the mountain mint around the corner,
In the shade.
and we had some Mexican petunia, dwarf Mexican petunia. They ate them. Look at that. The tops of them are eaten.
They tried it.
There was
Yummy.
a flower there yesterday.
Well, they're
They ate
resistant
last
enough. So we've had our struggle, and the deer have gotten. Oh yeah, we have a flower coming on the ginger lily. That'll be pretty. That'll be another couple weeks, but we should be able to post a picture of that white flower.
And they smell delicious.
And we have both white and peach in here because Barb brought the peach, and Frida had given us some white. So this was cantaloupe. This was eaten. This was netted. This was broken into. This has had every kind of repellent from, all right, what's here? Irish Spring.
Irish spring chunks, rosemary, and lots of deer netting.
And they say that what deer really are turned away from is in the browsing range of their nose. If they hit something obstructive, they tend to move on. So this is quite an apparatus, and it was able to protect our one cantaloupe. We put these in late. These did not go in until at least July, and they started off vigorously. And had they not gotten eaten, we might have had a nice harvest, but they got eaten. And
They were eaten twice only versus 4 times.
4 times on everything else.
But we're going to save that for seed, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, that did come from some saved seed. So if it matures enough, we can save it for seed. So we have the cucumber, we'll have this, we'll have the cucuzzi squash, and we've been doing pretty well with our herb garden. But do you want to talk about the sweet potatoes?
Sure.
The depressing sweet potatoes? 4 times eaten.
We were ready to film earlier, and the deer came the first time.
Yep.
They stripped every leaf.
Yes, they did.
Well, in a week, they started coming back.
Yes.
Then they did it again. 4
Yes.
times. So this,
So we're in an off week for the deer.
bless their hearts, they won't give up. Now we hope that we have potatoes on the bottom.
Yeah. So we're also thinking in terms of root crops, and if it becomes, normally we would leave these in the ground until Halloween or later because we'd want to let them grow.
Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, we can leave them as late as Thanksgiving and then cure them for a month. It depends on what nature does with a frost. What kind of a bounty we're even going to be able to get off of these at this year?
Well,
because
hopefully enough for-
yeah, well, we'll see. Seed is about all we're going to get. And last year we were feeding the homeless shelter, so I don't think that's going to happen this year. Yeah, let's take a minute in the shade and talk about what we're
Yeah,
giving
in the
the
shade.
kids.
Okay, we attended a virtual class last week, and they had great quote-unquote handouts. One was the vegetable planting guide for Eastern North Carolina.
Okay, pause. This was a workshop put on by the Onslow County Extension Specialists, and this is a plant file or a handout that was developed by NC State. And when you start to look at the authorship of this, there's some really expert people talking about putting this list together and this advice together, and that should be available online, and we'll provide a link. And you're gonna
The other side, there are multiple pages. This is the actual planting guide for what you should plant and when.
so
Either
it's
in containers or in the garden.
yeah, I mean, and it's alphabetized, and it is specific to Eastern North Carolina, so it's the go-to. And we're going to make sure that with this film there's a link to the planting guide, and we're going to put one in each classroom. Perfect.
Then I have to do the commercial.
Okay.
When you come, probably next week, when the teachers have time, they will be distributing this particular wonderful children's magazine put on by a nonprofit group, and there'll be several copies in each classroom. It has wonderful things like recipes that children can do, vegetables, games. Isn't that beautiful?
Lovely. Yeah, it really is. It
And
is.
let's see
It's
if everybody can identify.
and
all
it's
the
a youth
vegetables.
magazine. It's designed to be shared with the parents. It came from the SNAP benefits program. It's that Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and that's the federal FDA, Department of Agriculture.
And the publishers are out of Massachusetts.
And so it's really being done based on the recommendations that are coming from health and nutrition, from science and from experts and people who want to make sure kids and families get the right food on the table.
And they publish it quarterly, so you're going to be getting the fall issue, and then you'll get the winter issue, and maybe if you all like this and the teachers feel it's a good tool for you, maybe everyone will get one individually to take home. So cross your fingers. We'll see.
And that's a plug for a donation because they do cost a little bit.
Yes.
But they're really, I think we fronted them to come in one in each classroom.
Well, there are several in each, depending
okay,
on the
good.
class size. But it's there are 47 pages in this, so there's a lot of information that you can work with for almost a whole semester.
Terrific. They're wonderful. Well, thanks. I'm glad that we had access to these really wonderful resources, and Extension does what they do, and we really couldn't live without these agencies advising us, especially on how to grow food. So do you want to talk about the outer edge here?
Yes.
Okay, so these are black-eyed Susans, and they were insulated against the deer with whirligigs, and they should naturally be going into decline. So do you want to talk about what's gone?
Yeah, what's happened is we planted X number to start with, and then the wonderful lawn mowing service mowed them down. So Jennifer found a wonderful donator who gave us enough to be able to plant the whole row again. This is 50 feet long.
Yep.
We put them in. Unfortunately, it was warm, and we tried to keep them watered. They were stressed, but they did.
They
come
made it.
back. I am going to be deadheading these today to save for seed, but you can see the fresh leaves on the bottom.
Yeah, they definitely started to grow in place.
And next year, this will be a wonderful solid row, and they will be gorgeous.
They will, and it looks like Maria volunteered a little creeping Jenny with one of those plants. So we have, and that's where the I think that's where the Mexican petunia volunteers came from. So these are plants that are prolific and that we can continue to spread throughout the area and make a really pretty sight as you come up to this garden.
And they wanted us, Deacon Dave wanted something on the perimeter. He was thinking shrubs, but we want things that are pretty.
And pollinators.
And pollinators. That's the key thing, is pollinators.
Yep.
And so we complied with his wishes, and we hope that after this year into next year that we'll have better results, obviously. And
No, they'll fill. We talked about this with Barb. This is a 3-year process. When you set up a perennial garden, it takes about 3 years to establish, and then you'll be giving plants away. So we'll be having more plants for the kids to take home. So right now we've been working on seeds. We'll be working on cultivating plants, and our herb garden has been one of the things that the deer have not bothered, and they don't like aromatic plants generally, so they're not going to want to eat the chives or the rosemary, and they took a nibble or two of the comfrey. That's tasty, but you can see that our pollinator goals are being met because there are always flowers coming on these. The skullcap is flowering. The feverfew flowers the one time a year, but you see what a pretty little plant it is. And again, if you're somebody who's prone to migraines, eating a little piece of that foliage every day is a wonderful way to prevent them. Here we had a couple of tomatoes that we decided we wanted to try. We just had extras that we had cultivated, and the deer were less engaged with these, I think, than some of the ones on.
I think because of the herbs around them.
Well, and so the trick too, they say put marigolds around to prevent insects, and there are lots of organic methods that you can companion plant so that you don't have as much pressure from pests. This is the sage, and again, coming to the end of the year, it's doing beautifully. The lemon balm and many of the mints, you can see this time of year, they start to want to wane. And the lemon balm took a transplant this year, and it started to put a little bit of new growth from the bottom, so I feel like its root system will make it. The spearmint is very happy, and also went in a little bit later and stayed very happy. Then we have another rosemary, our insulation against deer. And here we have the peppermint that has been flowering and providing forage for pollinators all year. And it's not the prettiest at this juncture, but it's still holding its purpose dramatically, because you can see all of the critters that are zipping around here and continuing to feed. The motherwort is making it, but we came into the deer again. Mark, I was going to ask, oh, look at what you've done. That is just ripe and ready and getting collards a place to live. Show us the one thing that the deer didn't get.
Peppers.
No,
Basil?
stop. What did you find earlier?
That one okra.
Yeah, they ate the
One
okra 4 times, and there is one okra. So we're going to let it go, and we're going to hope to save some seeds for next year. There'll be another thing. Here, that's what mint is that? That one is the chocolate mint, and it's got some flowers still, and little tiny pollinators are going to that. Our garlic has died back for the season. It will start when it gets cool again. We can get some seeds from that, but that'll take a long time. Oh, Mark, that's sad. Is that
This
your...
is the one peanut we got.
And we've grown peanuts successfully.
Yeah.
This is definitely the result of having all that top growth eaten. But we're also doing a little seeding on the basil. And so the one herb that we saw the deer eat was the wild violet. And they ate it. And it's not their favorite, and it is resilient, but it got eaten. And we seemed really just to have no luck with getting okra, but we will have seeds from the basil. Have we made it around? Is there anything else?
Kids, you each got a packet of seeds, 4 different seeds during the past school year for those who were here. You got tomato seeds, you got wildflower seeds, you got loofah seeds, and what was the other one? Help me.
The hibiscus,
Mary, what did they get?
wildflowers.
Yeah.
Wildflowers,
Anyway.
tomatoes, loofah.
My brain died. And 61 of you received a Confederate rose cutting,
Yeah.
and hopefully everything's growing. So please talk about what happened with your gardens in your classrooms so that you know what everybody did and compare your notes. And be prepared because next spring we'll be giving you more seeds.
Yes. So as the beginning of gardening, be patient. It takes a while, and continue to look forward to our seed and plant donations. And we'll keep plugging along as we adapt to a changing climate and animal pressure and insect pressure and the pressure of everybody getting old.
So remember, what do plants need? Good soil, sunlight, water,
Yes.
and make sure you mulch.
To hold the temperatures
To hold
cooler.
The temperature and to hold the moisture in.
Yep.
Because if you don't, that's what your ground's going to look like
Yeah.
right after you water. So
Yep.
we're going to be putting that pine straw back on top. So when I water, it will stay.
That's
how
n-
moist it is under the surface.
Yeah. That's nice loose soil.
Cool temperature.
And it held from what I watered yesterday.
Yep.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone say goodbye for now from the St. Paul's Children's Garden, and we'll look forward to the next episode showing either deer-eaten or successful fall vegetables. Who's wagering? That's all for now.